Where does the name blue collar mystics come from?
It's something that I thought of a long time ago, and it really just has to do. I'm from Georgia. I grew up in a rural part of, relatively rural part of the country, around a lot of, like, I guess you'd call them rednecks, lots of rednecks around me. And so, that culture is something that I'm pretty familiar with, truck drivers, blue collar workers, mechanics. Those are the people that I was around growing up. And that's really kind of like how my grandparents were, and all that. So, very blue collar upbringing from the South, though. So, not like an industrial factory worker, more like farming and stuff like that. Landscaping, cleaning. I own a cleaning business now. So, it's like that's very blue collar stuff, but there is a lot of purity in that stuff, like the being directly tied to nature, being directly tied to the human experience and part of it, whatever whatever it is that you do. Like I find a lot of that I really want to cross those two paths together, where it's like, you're a caretaker of the world, you're a spiritual person, you're a down to earth person. Whereas I think in general, a lot of that stereotype with spirituality is kind of pious and disconnected, or it can be. So I'm just like, I just, that's what I feel. I feel like everybody can be a blue collar mystic. I mean, even look at Jesus, right? Like, he was a carpenter, he was good with his hands. He was building things and making things. And I think we also, all the blue collar people are the ones that make shit happen, right? Like, they're not sitting around all day, not doing anything. They're the ones hauling and building and actually doing those things. Somebody's above them, I guess, saying where they're going to build this giant building, but it's the strength of, hundreds and hundreds of really tough laborers and people who actually do the work and make these things happen. And so I think we should connect as much as possible internally. And I think there's kind of, I don't know if it's the same voice, but I do think there is a resounding, I mean, I guess at the bottom of it at all, it has to be, right? Like, it can't not resolve. But I don't know, listen to our internal voices as opposed to the external authority kind of thing. It has something to do with that. And I appreciate the question, because I'm like unpacking it now a little bit as we speak. But I mean, really, it's just down to earth spirituality, and really trying to connect with that.
So, Bootsy, what led you on the spiritual path that you're on today? And what-
Crippling depression from conspiracy theory research. Yeah, 2012, I had a huge paradigm shift, I guess is a politically correct way to say it. I woke up. Oh, we all know that. I had I don't know if I woke up. I woke up to some other reality that I was previously not aware of, right? And so I think we're all growing. Our consciousnesses are growing. And so, yeah, I discovered YouTube conspiracy stuff on the internet, and I just was like blown away. I realized that so much of what I thought I believed to be true about the world was simply not. And I read a lot of books and did and history kind of patterned some things. And I really wasn't myself there for a couple of years. Honestly, I felt, so I was so hurt by some of the things that I found to be true about the world and the way that it works, the banking system and other stuff. All these conspiracies, right? Alex Jones was really popular back then as well. So I'm starting to listen to him and all these heretic type, very, very fiery type of personalities who are right about a lot of things, but the way that they present them is always uh just, I don't know, just causes more harm really than anything else. But so yeah, so for a couple of years doing that, and then at some point I was like, all right, fine, look, I'm not going to beat the bankers or whoever, I'm not going to win, so what can I do to just you know, do as best as I can for myself and my family. And I started to get into spirituality. And I started to just read anything that I could in self-help as well. Theory of psychology, Maslow, yeah, literally anything I could. And Napoleon Hill, Maxwell Maltz, and Robert Anton Wilson, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I just consumed and consumed and consumed. And finally, that led me to a discovery of a book called Reality Transurfing, which is a Russian book, a very thick one. And that author did a really good job of kind of breaking down what is going on sort of metaphysically, you know, sort of phenomenons, a phenomenon of energy, and doing a really good job of illustrating it and putting it in a way that was the most scientific that I had seen. Because kind of the way my range went was like when I first kind of discovered, well, some of the things that were going on, I'm reading like Ayn Rand and thinking about objectivism. And that's great stuff. I mean, like, again, I do believe in objective reality. But, you know, that's just really kind of one part of the picture too. That doesn't really bring the full picture together. There's this whole metaphysical aspect of things, and that I was completely missing, you know. I mean, even just from a simple observable thing like attitude, you know, just seeing how your attitude affects how you interact with other people, little things like that. So I knew something was missing. And so I swung into all that spiritual stuff, and the transurfing stuff kind of did a good job of marrying it. Like, even before I discovered it, I was like, I think I would be like a hermetic objectivist if I had to describe myself, where it's like, I do believe in all this woo-woo shit, but I also know that this is, you know, we're all here. Then again, we could debate that too, because like there's the Mandela effect. I just shoved that completely out of my mind. But you know, for my purposes, this is my framework. I'm just going to share that, because whatever you believe is on you. That's you're your own blue collar mystic. So yeah, but really understanding some of those metaphysical aspects and how he described them. And one of the things he said in that book is that you've got to give up the fight on trying to change the world and save the world. And that was a huge relief for me, because I know it was true, but I still felt guilty. Like I was responsible somehow. And, you know, we do need to speak up. Obviously, you know, that's a big part of why I do podcasting or any of this stuff. But also within reason, you know, understanding that, you know, yeah, it's like there's an example that he makes in the book where you could run into the grocery store and just start screaming, please don't kick me out of the grocery store. Please don't kick me out of the grocery store. And what do you think is going to happen? Right? Like we always get that thing that we don't want. But that's a really good example of like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to use the machine to put a stick in the spokes of the machine. It just doesn't work that way. So picking my battles is kind of what that book really taught me. And fusing the sort of physical and the spiritual, the metaphysical stuff together. It does such a good job of that. You know, I think he's right about a lot of that stuff. I can't argue with very much of it.